Hi everyone, it's Mike from EduCircles, and today as part of our Reading for Meaning series, we're going to look at a comprehension strategy called asking questions. Now, before we start the mini lesson, let's turn our minds on and think about active reading. Active reading means we think about the text as we read. Your brain should be getting a workout. It doesn't matter if you're great at reading or if you sometimes struggle at reading. At some point in life, we all will have to read something we just don't quite get right away. If we use strategies, we can get better at reading. Comprehension strategies help us figure out what is going on in a text. There are lots of different comprehension strategies, and today we're going to use a strategy called asking questions. Asking questions is a reading strategy we use before we read, while we read, and after we are done reading. Here are a few pro tips to help you use this comprehension strategy. Pro tip number 1. Don't ask a question you already know the answer to. Otherwise, it's just too easy and we want your brain to work as you read. Pro tip number 2. Try to answer your own question using evidence from the text. Look for clues in the text and then just guess about what the answer is. We don't have to be right at this point. We just have to think about ideas as we read. Pro tip number 3. Ask lots of questions as you read, and make sure to include higher order thinking questions. Higher order thinking involves things like analyzing or evaluating or creating new ideas. One way to ask higher order thinking questions would be to start your question with why or how, and to use verbs like would or might. So, if you ask, how would this help the villagers? It might help you analyze and break down an idea into multiple parts and reasons. Or, if you ask the question, why would this even matter? Your answer might help you evaluate and come up with an opinion to judge the situation. You can decide whether you agree or disagree with the text. Or you might ask a question like, how might the hero defeat the villain? Then you're trying to create a new idea and solution using whatever you already know about the text. Pro tip number 4. Stop after every heading or paragraph and ask a question. If you don't get what you're reading, then you might want to stop after every sentence. If you're not struggling, then maybe don't stop as often, but you need to know that strong readers are constantly wondering or thinking about things as they read. Practice time. Here's a screenshot of the beginning of an article. Let's use the strategy asking questions before we read the entire article. We're going to stop after every heading or paragraph to ask a question to force us to think as we read. Look at the title of the article. Axe body spray stops a Florida school bus due to a hazardous materials incident. Let's try to ask some higher order thinking questions. For example, why would you have to stop if someone used body spray on a bus? This is a higher order thinking question because it uses the word why and it has the verb would. We have to infer the answer because it's not given to us directly in the part that we read. Remember to try to answer your own question. So, why would you have to stop if somebody used body spray on a bus? Well, maybe the driver stopped because somebody was hurt. Make sure to use evidence from the text to support your answers. Well, it does say right here that there are hazardous materials, so maybe there's something dangerous that caused some damage. Remember, don't ask a question you already know the answer to. For example, what was the spray? Well, we know. It's Axe body spray from the title. Another thing to know is that if you've already read the text, don't ask a question where you know the answer is given later on. So in this case, asking, how old were the students on the school bus? Well, if you already know in the next sentence it says that they were middle school students, that's probably not a great question to ask because you already know the answer. So let's recap about how to use the comprehension strategy called asking questions. Number 1, ask questions you don't already know the answer to. Number 2, no matter what question you ask, you have to guess at the answer based on something it says in the text. Number 3, ask lots of questions as you read and try to include higher order thinking questions using words like why or how. Number 4, today, try to stop after every heading or paragraph or section and ask a question. This forces us to think as we read, and that's what active reading is all about. Reading for meaning is just part of the many strategies and skills that we need when we read. And of course, reading is an important thing to be able to survive and thrive in today's 21st century world. It takes character to have grit and perseverance to keep going when things get tough. And one way to work on our character is to try to have a growth mindset, which means that we recognize that if we use specific strategies, those strategies can help us persevere and keep on going. Sometimes we struggle when we read. In that case, using some of these comprehension strategies will help. Sometimes we find reading easy. If reading the article today is easy, can we agree that at some point in life, you're going to come across an article which is harder to read and that you don't get? At that point, if you have solid strategies, you'll be able to persevere and figure out that tough article. So we work on the strategy today to practice for tomorrow. Asking questions is more than just a reading strategy. It's a thinking strategy, which means it's a life strategy. It's something we can use across the 21st century competencies. We ask questions to figure out ways to overcome challenges that build character. We ask questions when we try to figure out how to participate in the communities we belong to. We ask questions when we work in groups to decide how to accomplish our goals. We ask questions when we communicate and try to figure out a way to get our message across clearly. We ask questions when we try to innovate and create new ideas. And finally, we ask questions when we make decisions or think critically and fairly about a situation. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And teachers, if you want to download this Google slide, visit us at educircles.org. Good luck reading for meaning.